Hello and welcome everybody to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. Well, it is a new month, and with this new month of November, we want to welcome an incredible author. His name is Steve Makfoka, and he has great information to share tonight. And as you can see running on the ticker underneath, we're going to talk about a lot of great things. But before we do any of that, let's jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we're back, just like that. Well, we would love again to welcome Mr. Steve Makfoka, and that's kind of a fun thing to spell. His book tonight
I
is
was amazed at that. I was like watching the spelling to go, oh my goodness, people don't spell my name right in print, let alone when they're signing it.
I've been practicing. We both have these last names that are like, let's work that out just a bit. So as you can see, he's got a great book and it's called Family Recovery. And when we are recovering from things, that means probably something was wrong before, but not for long. So you can see running on the ticker underneath here, a way to contact Steve, as well as his subtitle, which is to build the family you need with the people you already have. That's really key. And the focus tonight is going to be on gratitude for the whole month. Find if we do this 30-day focus on this, the viewpoint, like I like to say, the 30,000-foot viewpoint on life really seems to reach out eternally and not just get stuck in the mundane. And so Steve is going to help us out with that. So we're really excited about everything here tonight. So Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am a parent, grandparent, 4 adult children, 4 grandkids, married for 39 years. I was a pastor for about 20 years and then moved into mental health and life coaching. The book came out of work that I was doing with particularly men in addiction recovery and helping them rebuild their lives and their relationships.
Wow, fantastic. In rebuilding lives and making new connections again. That is a big perspective on how things can really, really work. And you were showing me earlier this hunk of a chunk of a book about how to lay a good foundation of where being grateful can happen. And I'm sure that applied with the people that you worked with in the church, as well as with recovery and so on and so forth. So why do you think that is so important?
Well, I told you I was going to refer to ancient Greeks at some point. And when you do character studies, gratitude comes up as the queen of the virtues. All of the other virtues, character traits, character strengths, come out of gratitude. And then they also believed that ingratitude was the king of the vices. So, yeah. So if you start with gratitude, almost any good thing is possible, built on that foundation. If you harbor ingratitude, almost any evil thing can put roots into an ingratitude, and then it just grows and produces really bitter fruit.
That's so true. And as you can see, that separation where you've got a king of vices and a queen, even just saying queen, that suggests nurturing, love, pause, thinking before responding, reacting. And there's a strength in that. There is a I would say, a feminine characteristic of strength within that, that both genders can obviously harbor and hold. But there is a way that it takes work to consciously put it in front of us, to focus in on it, to do it, because the natural man is we're selfish. And when
Yes,
we
yes.
have to focus beyond ourselves, that is the gratitude. And if you're thinking about family and your book title, Family Recovery, I'm sure at some point somebody within that family was maybe self-centered and focused versus, I wonder how I could serve another today. And where that comes about is right built in within the gratitude. If that is the queen of the virtues, then that is something that every day waking up, you aim to focus in and help and support someone else other than yourself for your own gain, or for whatever kind of reason can come about: money, gain, um, pride, power, you name it. There's so many different things. So tell us how you came about in writing your book.
Um, sorry, let me grab a. So I was working on a teenager, adolescent, inpatient unit. So when kids either were suicidal, having breakdowns, unable to function, um, and they had to be hospitalized, they would come to our unit. And we would deal with the kids, but I discovered everything they were dealing with was family related. Family related connections. If they were good, the child did better. If they were toxic, the child struggled. And we would work with the child and then put them back into the same family environment. And I felt the need. I looked for resources on not just fixing the child, but healing the family as a whole network, as a whole system, the family. And since I couldn't find one, I wrote it.
There you go. There's something really powerful that I think many people who have a higher belief is they understand that family is a core connection and value. And as anyone can see with open eyes, that the family is completely under attack. The warning signs, the statistics, the you name it out there really point to the destruction of family, because if their family is gone, then who is there left to give you any kind of support, love, care, help, growth, cheering, somebody to feel well pleased in you? And if you think about it on a higher level, our Heavenly Father allowed us to come here. We were part of His family, and we are still part of His family here. And we should be loving each other and caring for our neighbor and trying to look out for one another. And that involves into that gratitude. Whether you believe that or not, if you just look back within your own family unit, a lot of the pain that people have is that there was a loss or a lack in that connection.
Mhm.
And it is not oversimplification. That is just the reality of how we connect together. Family is a foundational point. And anything that tries to get rid of it or erase it is of evil. It just is. And it's sly and slippery and slick. And if any of those terms feel like that's been happening in your life, maybe the family recovery is really important. If you're thinking about children, getting them help, and I'll use the term here, fixing, getting the help, giving them supports, giving them skills that they can do this. And I love what you said, then putting them right back into that toxic environment. The child really doesn't have a choice because of age and needs and so on. So really, you want to just, hey, can I just swap the family for a few weeks? We'll swap them back, right? Kind of give them this hello awakening kind of idea. But it's really interesting that as society, we don't tend to go out and to care for those families more. And I think that we can. I don't think it is hopeless. I think that we can. And so really in a whole family recovery, building the family that you need with the people you already have is important. Because if the child only has somebody who is per se toxic, that other person still has an opportunity to make choices that can help them to become different, because I'm sure they're suffering from some type of pain from a family of origin event or events, or a
Mhm.
lifetime of something that happens. And doesn't it seem like a lot of this has been written on the wall per se, and yet are we looking at it? Are we looking past it? Are we not wanting to look at it? What has your experience been?
Um, well, there's a couple influences on that perspective. One, we as Americans are fiercely independent, very individualistic. We define ourselves by ourselves, not by our group. So in most cultures, you're defining your family name means a lot, where you come from, the group that you are a part of. Those things are significant. And in many cultures, the individual sacrifices themselves for the health of the group, and they find their identity in the group. We're not brought up that way. um, we're more brought up the group. I find my identity in as an individual, and then I find a group that supports me. um, and one of the even in the founding of America, where in a lot of European countries, your family determines your status. And when America was founded, it was like, no, the individual, your work, your effort, your character determines your status. So there's a small part of American history that embraces like the nuclear family, but the extended family at various times in history has and has not been fully embraced.
Why do you think that is?
Um, it's that we have a reputation for being rugged individualists, and it takes a little something. Um, we have to, in order to have a sense of belonging, we have to moderate our own self. We have to learn to regulate our behavior. We need two primary functions of family. One is, if you grow up in a healthy family, you know who you are and you're comfortable with it. The second thing is, if you grow up in a healthy family, you know how to fit in and how to get along with a group. And at various times in history, the family will emphasize one over the other, and it gets out of balance. It's hard to keep those two things in balance.
It is a challenge. And so thinking about it, when again we go back into what gratitude is, where we are thinking of the other prior to our own self, there is something really important with that. Now, if you would like to share a little bit about your family and the, I will say, interesting challenges that you faced with teenagers and everybody kind of all
Sure.
together, share with us what you would like to, the experience of like, well, how is he the expert? What can Steve possibly know?
Okay. Um, we joke about, I had four teenagers at one time. The youngest turned 13 when the oldest was still 19. And so we have all of the stories, teen pregnancy, substance abuse, self-harm. Gosh, we had some court appearances when the behavior A was illegal and B they got caught. And there's an attitude that, well, if you were good parents, those things wouldn't have happened. That's not true.
Ooh.
Not true.
True.
And when you like have raised kids or are part of a community, you know that even the best of parents, the children have to figure out who they are, and that can be a very rough road.
That's true.
The valuable part of our experience is we got through it. We worked through it and we kept the relationships intact. So we
So
still
no one
have.
was kicked out. No one was thrown out. No one was disowned. No one was put on the farm over
Oh,
here
no,
and see you later.
I wouldn't assume that. We've done some of those things. It's called setting boundaries, especially once they were adults, of saying, we love you, we care about you. Very much prodigal son kind of stuff. If you want to leave, you may leave. But we always left the door open. If you want to come back, here's how.
Beautiful. And I think that boundary is so supported. You can read about it in so many different kinds of scripture, because the Lord, our Heavenly Father, they have rules, they have commandments, they have standards, they have things. It doesn't mean that their love drops or diminishes. And
No.
that's the twist, right? Oh, if you have rules, then you don't love me. Actually, come here, friend. Let's have a chat. I have rules because I love you. And it has to be noted and put out there, because what's being erased every day in any kind of social media, any kind of movie, and this has been for decades, it's nothing new, but it's the approach and the slick and the sly of things that now we are reaping the harvest of, which is not so great. But we've been warned of it, and it's not you against me, me against you. You don't love me because I can't do X, Y, and Z. Again, like you said, because I have the boundary, you have a way back. Always, always here open. I didn't close the door, move away. I mean, figuratively speaking, maybe you did, but right, we didn't close that off.
We had a child who left, came back, lived with us, was uncomfortable with our boundaries. We were uncomfortable with his lack of boundaries. So in love and with a desire to help, it was, you need to live on your own, but we will help you. Okay. The part most parents miss is how to accept the person without necessarily accepting the behavior. You can be whoever God created you to be. We will love and accept and understand and appreciate and embrace that. But that doesn't mean that you can say or do anything you want. Groups don't work that way.
Yeah, they don't last for long. That's
No.
for sure. They don't.
So you can fully embrace the person while still setting limits on the behavior, and there's traditional cultures, usually the mom saying, if you ever do that again, I will, I will take you out. And then once the anger comes down, they're like, are you hungry? Can I get you something to eat? And you've established the boundary on the behavior, but it hasn't threatened the relationship within the family.
Yes.
That's what makes family relationships special. You can't make me not love you.
That's so true. And that, I think you clarified and did a beautiful job in describing that, because the twist is, well, see, you won't accept A, B, or C, therefore you don't love me. I'll go and search for the group that does.
Mm-hmm.
And many times that group that has accepted them accepts them at a high cost, which usually leads to more and more behaviors that they find themselves drowning in and getting stuck in. And so, really, when we pull back, look up, and look at everything as the wisdom grows, right? All of that hair, gray eye, all that. That's all the wisdom that we get. Yeah. Smart. Look at that smart man right there. Woo. And the point of that is that we understand and we know. And I'm sure when we look back at our parents and then when they look back at their parents, there is a lingering piece that says, I know more because I've experienced more. Now, my execution of what I know more, has probably, has its different places. And not everything can become a trauma or something that will wound for all. And we have to be able to stand, understand, learn from. And I've had great perspectives and conversations with people who've had like alcoholic fathers, and they stand in gratitude because even though the ideal was here, this was the reality, right? They still tried to build the family that they needed with the people that they had. And
Mm-hmm.
it did have boundaries that came with that for protection and so forth. But they learned and grew at an exponential rate because they knew they did not want to repeat those behaviors again. Again, they did not want to vilify the other person. They knew where things stood, and that's a huge shift. It's very loving, and it's very approachable because, again, like you said, the behavior kind of gets placed over here, and the individual is separated from that in the sense that we can love you, and the behaviors, they do have to change. And if they can't change, then other things have to happen. But this love for you doesn't go away. It just doesn't.
We we deal a lot with the difference between love and trust. Yeah, I love you, but after trauma and recovery, trust has to be earned. Respect has to be earned. Love is freely given, and finding that balance again. And I have seen um, children like reunited, particularly with fathers when they've had a year or so of sobriety. And I would be interested in your opinion on this. Um, my perspective is what children want the most is for their parents to be doing well, to get better. Um, would you agree? And even when they're setting boundaries, they still want to know that's still their deep hope. Someday they're going to do well. Someday they'll get it together. And when that happens, again, we have walls and we have doors, but we leave the door unlocked.
Right. And it is their choice to be able to come and walk back in. We're not reaching out there chasing after them because they've got time to heal. They've got time to fix some things. And if it is the once a year phone call or text message because the toxicity is so great while they're
Mm-hmm.
hopefully in their ways of recovery, that's okay. Because there is a foundational piece of things and of life that, you know, in the end of all ends, things get sorted and hearts are fully known by one. And where that heart is and where the efforts are in trying, there is something really to that because we all make mistakes. That whole idea of the recovery, I love your subtitle. It wasn't like family recovery, go find a new one.
No.
It was
Well,
like, you
I
got this.
actually, it's if you get into it, it's a self-help book. If you want a strong, healthy, supportive family, you have to learn to become a strong, healthy, supportive person. So whoever buys the book gets to make the changes. It's not a book on how to change other people. It's a book on how to change your relationship with the other person.
That's right. Because who do you have control over? Right
Yep.
here looking at you. That's it. And so, which also brings a lot of power and it drops a lot of victim.
Yes.
I could do all these things if you, no, no. Remember in that point, you got how many coming back at you? And it's a tough shift of perspective, especially when we have a society that supports blaming, that supports victim. And what we need to do is remember how things shift so that recovery can really happen. Because when we take ownership of that and the little, 1% change over time really makes the difference. There's no way any of this should be done in a big chunk and by in 30 days, everything. No,
No.
time is of the Lord's, but your actions are for you. And as actions start, then the little, what I always say, pinpoints of light can come out and you can be directed to know, okay, that's good. We've been doing this for a few months now. I want to add something a little bit more. What more could I possibly tweak or change? And it's painful. All these journeys are done without shoes on in a prickle pear patch sometimes, you know?
When you're talking about the 1% changes, though, that's where the gratitude comes in, and the person in recovery doing the change, we teach them to, if you call someone and they pick up the phone, be grateful. If they listen to you, be grateful. Expect nothing, and you are entitled to nothing. You be grateful for every small gift, every ounce, every openness, every small step. In recovery circles, there's the statement, a grateful drunk won't drink.
Wow.
When you are grateful for your life, I should be dead. When you are grateful for people who love you after what you've put them through, when you're grateful for a second chance, when you're grateful for a car, a job, a place to sleep, people who care about you, when you are grateful for all of those things, that becomes the foundation for the restoration. Not demanding, not insisting, not manipulating, humility and gratitude.
And that is a point. Yeah, beautifully said. That point really comes home in so many ways. And the challenge for the whole month is to show that. And Steve so beautifully put it there. And I mean I think that's a wrapped up with a bow. I think that is just awesome. So, anything you would like to share with us as we have these last few minutes about your book or about anything else with gratitude?
If you go to the website, there is a family recovery course and a link to the book. They are faith friendly. I wrote them for a secular audience, but when someone from a faith background reads it, they go, "This is all in the Bible." It's like, yes, yes, we knew that. And some of the misconceptions, like when religion becomes toxic or expectations become harmful, we deal with some of that in the book. And then even allowing the faith community to become families of choice. We talk about that in the book as well.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate everything that you shared with us this evening. Remember, his book is called Family Recovery. Build the family you need with the people you already have. Take it one step at a time. Remember that gratitude is that queen virtue, and that if that is the foundation, there is so much that really can open up. Share your love. Remember that the behavior is separate than the person. The person is still lovable, and love is free. And those things, with those little tiny tweaks, maybe in perspective, might help you to have a beautiful holiday season. Maybe a change that you've been hoping for a long time. But really, it starts with the person in the mirror and knowing, what can I do today? Excellent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Steve. We will drop all the links here below after we close this up. And thank you so much. I'm grateful that you were here this evening to share all of this. It has been a beautiful evening. And thank you, everybody, for popping in. I hope you come back with the replays and see even more. Check out Steve's wonderful website. Grab the information there. Like he said, take that link and see what the course can help you with. Well, everybody, we'll see you soon on the Beacon of Light podcast for next week's great adventure, and we'll see what other kind of gratitude we can bring you that evening. We'll see y'all. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.